It is 9:30, which means we get to catch up with our mogul in training, who is properly hydrating. And we don't mind proper hydration during a segment. That's perfectly fine. So we bring in Michael Parkhurst from Beyond Goals Mentoring. Cap, you feel properly hydrated, sir?
Morning, John. It's a constant struggle. I try and do a good job. My body tells me around 5 p.m. that I've not done a good job every day.
Does your body sit there and it's like, bruh, lactic acidosis, and you're kind of just limping into the garage and sitting there going, it's like, I'm going to lay out for a bit?
I tend to do well, I think, from wake up until about 10 a.m. ish.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what happens around lunchtime. I forget to drink.
Well, I was going to sit there and say, you're good from, wake up until 10 a.m. And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, on Fridays, that's when he wraps up this segment, when he sits there and he goes, God, what have I just put myself through again? And I've got to figure out how to fix this situation just in time for lunch.
Something like that.
I told you last time that you were here 2 weeks ago that I was going to wear something on the air, and I found it, and it was in the washer and the dryer, and it did not shrink. So yay for me and laundry skills for a change. So what I wanted to do was display right here. Let me move the drawstrings so I'm not blocking the entire logo. And I wanted you to kind of explain this a little bit as a part of your mogul in training this. Hope, power, friendship, and providence. Don't look in the mirror, John. Just sit there and do this. So, hope, power, friendship, and providence. And this was something really cool that Rhode Island FC did. And as I told you last time, it was a no-brainer for me to pick it up. And so I figured I would wear it today. What has the response been like introducing this to fans of soccer, regardless of where they are? But what has the response been like there in Rhode Island from the feedback that you've been getting for this to go on sale for a reason? So go ahead. For those that don't know, I guess tell the story here.
Yeah, well, I think it's obviously dealing with the Brown University shooting, and proceeds are going over there. And I honestly, off the top of my head, I forget the backstory of the hope, power, friendship, where those words came from. There's something, and then we added the providence. And but yeah, it's the response has been really good. Obviously, it's a small community up there, and there's a lot of angst about what occurred. Obviously, everything in the world that's going on right now, but also, it wasn't handled great. And so it was a big story up there. So, to try and just give back and, help out a little bit. That's what we're trying to do. So we appreciate it, John. Thanks for supporting the cause.
Oh, absolutely. No, it was a no-brainer on my end. And knowing and following, as the news junkie that I am, following that the whole situation along as it was breaking and all this kind of stuff, what it means to these communities, and to have something that is tangible so folks don't forget, I think is important in situations like this. So we can always be reminded about what's important, what you can do to, in some small way, to be a part of a healing process, whatever that is. But it's important to be reminded of these events, how important it is to be supportive in these moments as well. I thought that was clutch.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And I'm just reading about why, just to remind myself about the hope, power, friendship, providence. It's from a local artist. And the quote was, "Rich folks live on Power Street, and friendship is a one-way street, but most of us live off hope." So.
Mm-hmm. And so that was a very, very cool thing that you guys are doing there at Rhode Island. And since I'm talking about Rhode Island, Mr. Mogul in training, you are in the throes of getting everything ready for USL Championship again. Where is roster construction, sir? What can fans expect in Rhode Island, sir? What can they look at here in USL Championship as you're getting closer and closer? What, about 5-6 weeks away from kickoff?
Yeah, March 7th. So roster construction is looking good. Like I said last time, we needed to move on from a few pieces, which we've done so now, and we needed some more flexibility. And so we got that. We've added a couple MLS pieces, Leo Alfonso being one from Atlanta. And, we got a right wing back from Charlotte, who's a very good player. And we added a lone piece from Argentina, so that was good. And we're not done yet. We're still in the market trying to see what else is out there. No rush though, which is a nice place to be. We're not in a position where we have to sign someone, which is nice. So feel good about where the group is right now. They've started preseason this week. They head down to Florida. I think it's a week from today. So they'll head down there and play a few games. So
Yes.
the roster is looking pretty good. And speaking of Rhode Island, John,
Yes.
it has come in.
Oh,
It's
there it
coming
is.
your way.
Oh, that's fantastic.
If and when we all survive this winter weather storm that's coming up,
There it is.
I'll get this out to you.
That would be fantastic. And, of course, either one of two things is going to happen: that the boss is going to hijack it and she's going to wear it no matter what, or I'm going to race it and put it in a frame. We just have to figure out where we're going to frame it here in Office HD. So now that is very humbling. When you do send it, could you please put your John Hancock on there?
Sure will.
So that way it goes immediately into the frame and the boss doesn't steal it because she knows the value of, so Cap actually signed this thing. I can't wear it because you can't put it in the washer at that point because you've signed it. Oh, that's good.
Yes.
Very, 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 very cool and very, very humbling that you would do that. When it comes to, we talked last time about what you had learned about 25 coming into 26 and all of that, with training camps starting and we're getting ready for the high school season down here in the state of Georgia, and you're getting tryouts and teams being assembled and things like that. Let me ask it this way. When it comes to, if you have a student athlete that wants to do something for the first time, they want to be a part of something when it comes to their school, high school, region, whatever, and they want to jump into this for the first time. They've done the sport, but they haven't done it, in a high school setting or an organized setting, and they want to try to hop in for the first time. What advice would you give for someone who wants to be in that organized setting? They've enjoyed the game, but now they want to get into that organized setting and be there for their school or for their area. What advice would you give those kinds of student athletes?
Yeah, to find information first, right? Understand what the commitment is before you jump in. Because, I know that there's some players on my daughter's high school team and they don't show up for the trainings, in the off season, or they're doing preseason workouts right now. It's before tryouts and they don't show up and then they expect to play when the season starts and things. And so just knowing that there's a commitment level to anything, and you have to be able to follow through with that commitment in order to have success and even find enjoyment, because being part of a team, the more you're around the team, the easier it's going to be to make friends and fit in and enjoy your experience, which is what everybody wants to do. So that would be my number one thing. Find out the information, talk to people that are doing it already or have done it, and ask them what their experience has been like and if they have any advice. But also keep the expectations a little low. It's okay to work your way up. There are juniors who play on JV, and that's completely fine. And then, senior year, maybe you have an opportunity to play varsity. So things like that, I think that are really important, because especially with school stuff, it's really to enjoy being part of a team and enjoy the experience of the 4 years in high school. So I think it's really valuable that everybody finds their niche and finds their group.
Well, and at the same time, especially in the high school game these days, and I know that, you can sit there and you go into the individual leagues and travel ball and all those kinds of things. But with high schools in and of itself, and we had this discussion with some high school coaches in South Georgia a couple weeks ago, and they are still on the learning curve with their programs. They're successful in a lot of other sports, but soccer has a lot of growth it's got to do, and there's growing pains with these programs. They're not winning in region games. The loss column is a lot heavier on the right-hand side of the dash than the left-hand side of the dash. And you have coaches who are engaged and they want the programs to grow, but they understand that it's going to be steep and it's going to be long. When it comes to talking to these coaches, what advice would you give so they don't get disheartened when it comes to trying to build something that they believe in.
Yeah, it's funny because I was just watching this thing about Bodo Glimt in Norway, and
Uh,
they were talking about how the coach literally doesn't say the word win in like the last 3 years. He doesn't say win. I don't even think he says losses. So he doesn't talk about wins or losses. He just talks about performance and how the team is playing. And so, and that's what's most important to him. Because results can come and go, regardless of if you play well or poorly. So that was interesting for me, and I think it kind of goes along these lines of, everything is such a process, and it can be difficult to stay with the process when the results aren't there. But again, I think that especially for a new program, it's building that process and making sure people are enjoying themselves, and until you can get a couple players that are now all of a sudden like, hey, this looks like a cool experience actually, and those are the players that can maybe help your program win a few games, and then all of a sudden it snowballs. But there are programs everywhere, and we have them here, where kids don't play because they know the coach is a disaster, the program stinks, the trainings are way too hard, the coach is a jerk, things like that. And that's tough too. So coaches have a lot of influence over the program. Even if the losses are piling up, kids can still get better, and kids can still enjoy themselves, and that's honestly what's most important.
When you have these coaches who are honks, and I mean, this is, I guess, the adult peer-to-peer part of the program. When you have these adults who are, they're counter to what it should be, and you have student athletes that are stuck in these situations because that's their high school, and they don't, they can't advance one way or the other. They can't just transfer in the middle of a year. They can't move or do what those kinds of things. I mean, what advice would you give those student athletes who are stuck in a situation,
Yeah.
trying to enjoy themselves, but they're going up against that brick wall of a coach who's an ass?
Yeah, it's so tough. Those are tough conversations, and sometimes an ass is an ass, and sometimes an ass is a decent person who's just coming across as an ass.
Mhm.
And the formers, that's tough to deal with. That's when you hope parents can kind of step in and say something and help out. But the latter is more common. And what we try and tell some of our athletes is, take in the information and the guidance, leave the tone and the attitude and the way it's coming out of their mouth, leave that. Don't take that in. Just take the information, and that's difficult. I mean, it's not easy, right? But over time, you hope that they can listen to get better, but don't let the actions, the negativity, the body language that comes with it, the tone, affect how they're playing out there. And that's tough for a lot of kids. So those are really tough conversations. And that's why coaching is so important. These coaches have so much influence over our children and their experience and their love for these games. And so it's so important that we continue to train these coaches and help them grow. Because they're shaping a lot of our youth.
How have you and Greg thought about the idea of mentoring fellow adults? I mean, you talk to parents. I know that you talk to parents of student athletes, but what about the coaches' ideas? Do you have conversations with adults who are coaches and get to kind of steer them away from the good person who's an ass, that category B that we were just talking about? Do you ever get to have those conversations?
Not much, not much. We're still young enough where we're still trying to find our groove and focus on what we're good at and things. And so we had mentioned it to a couple of clubs when we were trying to figure out clubs to work with and partnerships and things. But it's tough. It's tough with these coaches. And that's honestly some of the bad part is, they're not, who's open to it and who's not. Right. The people that are open to it are usually the ones that need less of it.
So how hard is it? How hard? Let me go back to when you were of that age. How hard was it for you to listen through a coach and get to the messaging and get to the ideas about improving your game instead of listening to a coach and getting all of the noise that might be blocking the learning? Did you have that kind of experience as well? And how did you go through it and learn through it and listen through it?
Yeah, when I was young, I was really fortunate because I had a good coach. He was hard on us, but you knew that he loved us, and he was such a good guy, and everybody loved him, and the parents loved him. So I was very fortunate. But in high school, I did have a hard coach. He was tough, and he broke a lot of kids. But he was also one of the best coaches I've ever had as far as information and knowledge of the game and tactical knowledge and introducing all those things to me. So he was one where, it was definitely take in the information, sometimes ignore the rest of it. And, I will admit I had it a little easier than some of the other guys because I took in the information and I used it where other players didn't, and he got progressively harder on them. So it's tough, but yeah, and it takes a little experience. It does, and it takes a confidence. It does, to know that, hey, regardless of this tone, I can still go out here and do this thing, and there's a reason why I'm still out here on the field, and he or she hasn't taken me off, and I'm still on the team, right? They don't hate me or they don't think I'm terrible. It's just they're having a bad day or something's going on with them, but I'm going to keep doing my thing.
Yeah, when I was playing baseball, and this is back in the days of black and white television, by the way. I had one coach literally yell at me for not paying attention during a pickoff attempt, and he said, "It'll be a cold day in hell before you play first base again." And he said this out loud during a game, and literally people accepted it, and it was just like, "Oh yeah, he's just being a hard ass." And so, suffice to say, that season for me was not very, very bountiful and beneficial for me when it came to baseball.
Yeah.
You mentioned confidence. How confident are your mentees these days across the board?
It's the biggest topic we speak about with athletes, for sure, because the range is so big. And the first thing we say is confidence is a skill. It's not you have it or you don't. And it's not if you have it, you always have it, right? It comes and goes. It can constantly be worked on. It constantly needs to be worked on. It's always tested, right? So yes, there are some people that in general are more confident than others, the way they carry themselves. But even they will go through some tough times where that confidence gets tested and gets beaten down. And so it's regardless of how they are currently, we still talk about, how do you keep it? How do you get it back? How do you make sure that it's a positive and not a negative? We talk about the benefits and the importance of it and how to play with it. And so there's a wide range. There's plenty of kids who come to us because their confidence is down, because they're going through a tough time, and we try and build them back up.
Confidence being a negative. That seems counterintuitive in certain ways. How can confidence be a negative? Are you wrapped up in the idea of, yeah, I'm good, and you're not seeing what's going on around you, that lack of awareness or knowledge? Confidence is a negative. I thought that was interesting when you mentioned that.
Yeah, well, number one, lack of confidence obviously is a negative, but for sure, too much confidence can be a negative, because that's how you become complacent. That's how you think that you're always going to be one of the best players on the team, and you're
you ain't seeing the forest for the trees, are you?
Yeah, I was trying to think of a nice way to say something that I probably shouldn't say on here.
Dude, we can put the E rating up. It's all good. It's no worries there.
Your poop doesn't stink, basically.
Your ish is not what you think it is.
Yes, exactly. So, we talk about that line between confidence and cocky, and players don't love playing with cocky players, right? They are locker room killers, and they just, it's tough. And you want players to toe the line because that's where a lot of greatness is. But you step over that line, and it's a slippery slope to you're going to fall at one point. And so, yeah, too much confidence can hurt you in the long run. But it's easier to adjust that than it is to, if you've got no confidence trying to build up to get to be a confident player.
Let's talk about the zero folks. How many folks and mentees have you come across that are just when they come to you and Greg and Zara, it's just like, my tank is on empty. I don't know where I'm going to get it, where it's coming from. How many of those extreme individuals have you guys been able to try and bring back to the beginnings of the bell curve here? How many of those extreme cases have you had?
Yeah, only a handful. We've had more that they were confident and now they're going through a tough time versus the players who just are always seem to be in a tough time. And those players are challenging, of course, because you want to help them and you feel for them. And, I try and speak to moments and experiences that I had where my confidence was shot and just trying to normalize the fact that not everyone is super confident. And sometimes you have to learn to fake it till you make it. And then it will help you increase your confidence, right? We talk about like body language and how you speak can help trick your brain into being a little bit more confident. So yeah, we've definitely dealt with some, but thankfully not the majority.
Well, and I would imagine that, when you put on the uniform, when you put on the gear to represent whatever you're representing, whether it's club, high school, what have you, if you're lacking in confidence, I would imagine that putting on that uniform makes you stand a little taller. You put the gear on, it makes you, have that feeling inside of I now, I know what I'm representing here. I have to project X, even though I may not be there. I would think that, being a part of that community helps out with that. Something as a gesture that's as simple as just putting on the jersey and understanding that you're a part of that team.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you've got pride in that organization, that team, that school, whatever it is. That's important. And yeah, that is a big part of it. And that's for sure something that I always thought about when I was putting on jerseys and, how awesome it is to go out here and represent and play in front of people and, try and show them who I am and all those things. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of that. But it does come down to, pride in yourself, pride in the team, pride in who you're representing.
How many times did you have to at least just put on the veneer and sit there? It's like, I know I'm not at 100%, but I've got to get out there and do my best, even though I'm not all the way there. How many times did you have to just understand that, yeah, I'm not there. I got to put on a good face. I got to do it right. And I got to give my best, even though that best wasn't there.
I probably spoke about it when I was in previously here, but I trained a little bit with the under 17 national team when I was in high school, and it was the worst experience of my life. I hated it. It was brutal. My confidence was shot. I couldn't wait to be done with it. I hated going to practice every day. It was tough. So I use that a lot when I speak to kids to let them know, like, hey, I went through it too. It should have been one of my best of experiences. I had a 16-year-old getting to play with the under 17 national team and stuff, and it was brutal. Because I was the new guy. They were all buddy buddies. I didn't have a friend to pass the ball to. It was just, a bunch of teenagers like not welcoming the new guy at all.
Yeah.
And it crushed me. And so, yeah, it was tough. So I speak about that. But then there's also periods like, I go over to Denmark and I'm not starting every game. And like, oh, I got to go play a reserve game with, a bunch of 18-year-olds when I'm 24, trying to get up for those games. When I'm in Germany and I'm not playing and, likewise, now I'm older, I'm like, late 20s and I'm going to play reserve games with the U23 team, with a bunch of 19-year-olds and 17-year-olds and, getting up for those things. And, the confidence gets hurt a little bit in those instances for sure. And, bad seasons like I had with the crew in 2016, where it was just like, we couldn't win. And, I'm the captain and, you just have to put on the face like, hey, everything's going to be all right and keep going out there. And keep losing.
Oliver Gage, sporting director of Fort Wayne, is going to be with us here in a couple of minutes, just to give everybody a heads up. You mentioned it just sucking in general. When you're outside of the click, and I'll use air quotes, and that's $1 in the jar for me, but yeah, using air quotes. When you're outside the click and you're the new guy, how do you balance wanting to do what's best for the team, knowing that you're the outsider, knowing that they've got to dance with you and you've got to figure out how to show what's best for them? Is it just being there at practice every day, showing up, not, shaking off all of the nonsense and all the click? How do you integrate when you're outside the click to try to be a part of things and be productive?
Yeah, that's tough, especially for someone that wasn't super outgoing like myself at that age. And I think that there's two things that I try and tell kids in that situation. One is try and find one player or two players. Usually there's a couple players that aren't totally with the group or have that attitude or whatever, and try and find them and get yourselves in with those players. Or have the mentality of, I don't need to be friends with these players in order to have success, and my success and showing it on the field will bring me part of the group. Right? Sometimes I have to earn it on the field and show it before I get the acceptance. Now, I wish it wasn't always that way, and I tried to be that teammate that wasn't that way, but in a new environment, sometimes show it and it will help you become part of the group.
Okay. So what is up with you and Beyond Goals, other than fighting Mother Nature and building snowmen and not slipping in your driveway the next couple of days?
What is up? We've got, I don't know, we're setting out the tone for the rest of the season, and got a lot of different things going on for this year. Just talked to Jimmy Conrad about partnering with doing something with center backs and a video kind of analysis thing. And we're putting together camp ideas, a free clinic for a city of Atlanta, a camp up here in Columbus with a one Darlington Nagby. So
yeah, I heard of that dude.
Yeah, just different things. So yeah, we got a lot going on, but it's exciting. It's fun.
Yep, Nag Bay. Yeah, it'll be good for you to catch up with Driver and find out what's going on with him and all that stuff. As always, it's great to see you, my friend. Great to catch up and get the wisdom and the knowledge that is there with you. And is Deacon crashed out to your left on the floor?
Always, John. You know it.
Yeah, whatever.
He's there.
What? He's like, yeah, whatever. Fine.
Yeah, living a tough life.
Absolutely. It's great to see you, my friend. And obviously, don't be a stranger. Anything happens, just knock on the door. Otherwise, we'll be knocking on your door every once in a while to find out what's going on at Beyond Goals Mentoring, at BG Mentoring, at MF Parkhurst. And it's always great to see you. We'll catch up with you next time, my friend.
I'll let you know when the jersey ships.
Oh, awesome. That's great. Michael Parkhurst. Now he's going to get to 10 o'clock, and that's when he gets his crash. That's how this works.